Tonight, Toronto police uncover a network of teenagers hired to commit gun crimes.
In order to get paid, they're required to film their attacks.
A string of shootings targeting synagogues, Jewish schools, and the U.S. consulate. But who is funding the attacks? The Prime Minister's hot mic moment while talking to Donald Trump.
This shouldn't surprise anybody.
What was said and where trade talks stand now. And the end of an era for Hockey Night in Canada. The CBC will no longer broadcast NHL games.
You turn on CBC and you expect it to be there, right? So it is sad.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Toronto police say they have uncovered an alarming criminal network hiring young people to commit gun crimes across the city and take video to show as proof. Police believe these young people were involved in high-profile shootings at several synagogues and bullets fired at the U.S. consulate in March. And one of the alleged shooters has been charged with killing Constable Mark Pinizzato during a police raid. We're also hearing from that constable's mother tonight. But first, Thomas Daigle explains how the gun for hire scheme works and who could be behind it.
Look closely and you'll see a pattern. Gunmen in the Toronto area holding a weapon in one hand and a cell phone in the other, capturing shootings on video, seemingly in exchange for cash.
In order to get paid, they're required to film their attacks. Who is paying for this? This is what we are trying to determine.
Police say a string of 27 shootings, including an attack on Toronto's U.S. consulate, have been traced to a guns for hire scheme. With investigators now identifying the two men they say jumped out of the stolen vehicle and opened fire.
As far as these, we'll call them cells or networks go, we believe there's multiple. The sharing of firearms is common.
These 18-year-olds and others were allegedly paid to carry out shootings, receiving their orders through encrypted apps. The targets ranging from Jewish schools to a waste management company.
You may have a transnational group or some kind of organized entity that has really a bottomless well of potential contractors.
The FBI alleges it was Iraqi militant leader Mohammed al-Sadi who ordered the consulate shooting and an attack on a Toronto synagogue on behalf of a group linked to Iran. U.S. court documents say al-Sadi was captured on a wiretap, claiming, "In Canada, we have our guys."
Has that recording been shared with the RCMP, and what is your understanding of whether it's a group or an individual that orchestrated these shootings?
I do not want to comment as to whether or not the validity or not validity of that information, but it is part of our investigation. We're aware of it, and we're continuing to follow up on it.
As police raided this apartment building in that investigation, Constable Mark Pinizzato was shot and killed. His grieving mother is speaking out.
Our family is going to make a plea to the general public. Please support our police. Mark gave his life. He was determined to be the best he could be.
Now, the 19-year-old who was accused of pulling the trigger in the killing of that officer, a court heard that he remains in hospital himself after being shot by police, and he remains unconscious, Adrian.
So, Thomas, you talked about encrypted messaging apps. Walk us through how they could fit into the investigation.
Well, typically, a search warrant for those cell phones would allow police to look at those apps. We're talking here about WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram, look at the chat histories, and crucially get access to the videos that these suspects apparently shot and who they sent them to get paid.
Okay, Thomas Daigle, thank you.
You're welcome.
There were some tense moments today in BC's southern interior when hundreds of residents were forced from their homes by wildfire. An evacuation order was issued for around 350 homes in West Kelowna on the western shore of Okanagan Lake. The flames began around 11 a.m. this morning in Calamar Regional Park and quickly spread, spurred on by 50-kilometer-per-hour wind gusts. More than 100 firefighters battled that blaze in what the city's fire chief says could have been a disastrous day.
I can tell you that there are homes on this street behind me today where the fire burned within inches, and it was stopped by firefighters, and those homes were saved. Those people are going to get to go home soon to a home that is virtually untouched by fire, and success story from today.
At one point, more than 800 people were forced to flee their homes, and hundreds more were told to be ready to leave with a moment's notice. And still in BC, police say an electrical incident at a popular water park that injured 12 children doesn't appear to be criminal in nature.
The 12 individuals that went to hospital, they're doing well. And that does include the 2 that I mentioned that were airlifted.
RCMP wouldn't say if any of the kids aged 12 to 13 have been released from hospital. The kids were on an end-of-year field trip at Cultus Lake Water Park in the Fraser Valley when a railing seemed to become electrified. The water park will remain closed while officials investigate the cause. And Canada's trade minister says critical trade talks with the U.S. are progressing. Dominic LeBlanc met with his American counterpart today on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France, where, as David Cochrane tells us, Prime Minister Mark Carney was also caught on a hot mic talking trade with Donald Trump.
Yeah, isn't it funny?
Even with everything that's happened, Prime Minister Mark Carney and President Donald Trump are still able to smile and chat during a friendly stroll at the G7 in France. In the peculiar language of summits, this is called the family photo. And like every family, this one has disagreements. Most of the frank talk is done discreetly or behind closed doors, but sometimes an unnoticed microphone can tell a story. This one caught the Prime Minister speaking to the President about a deal Canada cut with China that the U.S. does not like. Carney assures Trump that Canada's deal to let Chinese EVs into the country is just 3% of the total market, and that there's a hard import cap of 49,000 vehicles.
I thought you'd actually like it. This shouldn't surprise anybody.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc shrugged it off, saying the points the Prime Minister was making are widely known. He also revealed that he and his lead negotiator met with U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer.
Janice Charette and I had a long and we think constructive meeting with Ambassador Greer. It very much builds on the work we did with him in Washington on June 2nd.
At that meeting, the two sides worked through a list of 36 issues the U.S. had raised. Sources say in a trade briefing last week, LeBlanc told the premiers they had resolved 12 of them. He didn't offer any such clarity today.
We don't negotiate the details of these issues publicly.
LeBlanc says he will speak with Greer again next week, but offered no specific details of when or where. There is no one-on-one meeting scheduled between the president and the prime minister on the final day of this summit, and the prime minister's office won't say if the two leaders made any progress between themselves on trade. David Cochrane, CBC News, near Evian, France.
Interestingly, there was another hot mic moment caught on tape in France. This one while Emmanuel Macron was welcoming Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to the G7.
So first, do you have bilaterals being organized with President Trump?
When Zelenskyy said he didn't have a planned meeting with U.S. President, Macron said he'd arrange one, and it happened. Macron brokered this unplanned meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy, after which Trump told reporters Russia should make a deal. Well, he went on to publicly criticize Israel, saying its military is killing too many people in Lebanon. As Chris Brown reports, the comments come as the U.S. president tries to protect a newly signed deal with Iran to end the war.
Few people have seen the fine print of Donald Trump's deal with Iran, the one he claims will reopen the Strait of Hormuz and end the war. But the U.S. president says within days, everyone will.
Disagreements about one thing, then Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
At the G7, Trump was peppered with questions about Israel and its intensely negative reaction to his deal. In extraordinary remarks, Trump positioned himself as Israel's savior.
Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did.
Equally remarkable was his assessment of Israel's military tactics fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon, where more than 3,800 people have been killed.
Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you.
The potential lifting of sanctions to ease Iran's crippled economy and the future of its nuclear program have been kicked down the road to be dealt with during 2 months of negotiations, said Iran's foreign minister. Israel's full withdrawal from Lebanon must come first, though, he said. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not address Trump's criticisms of him or his war tactics, but Monday night he vowed to maintain Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon, casting doubt on how long negotiations will last. If Trump's deal holds, shipping lanes will reopen and more attacks and bombings averted. But with Iran's leadership emboldened, the alliance between Israel and the United States is being tested, perhaps as never before. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
In an interview with CNN, Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's one of the few who has seen a copy of the U.S.-Iran memorandum.
In effect, it is a cessation of hostilities. It's a ceasefire for that 60-day period, as you know, but it sets out a series of conditions and what will happen when they are fulfilled.
Carney also called the preliminary deal well-structured and a game-changer that exceeded his expectations, and he suggested it could be used as a framework for other conflicts, such as the Russia-Ukraine war. Carney also said Canada could assist with overseeing the unfreezing of Iran's assets. Let's head inside Iran now, where CBC News has been reporting in a Canadian exclusive with permission of the Iranian government. Restrictions are imposed there on international journalists, but the government does not check our material before it's broadcast. Margaret Evans is in Tehran. So, Margaret, a couple of days after this deal was signed, really, there's still very few details. How is that sitting with Iranians?
Well, you know, the Iranian leadership is trying really hard to sell this deal. The Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, has said if it holds, it could be a moment of real pride for Iran. And I think most Iranians would like that to happen. But I also think most Iranians are convinced it will fail because of the United States. They'll point out to you that the United States and Israel twice attacked Iran over the past year, while Iran was actively involved in negotiations with the United States. And this deal, of course, is just a pathway to much tougher negotiations aimed at a longer peace.
So, Margaret, you've been in Iran for about a week. You were also reporting from there just over a year ago. What strikes you as having changed since then?
Well, I mean, aside obviously from the loss and damage inflicted by those two conflicts, I'd say the most striking thing has been the increase in the number of women not wearing the hijab. I mean, we were reporting on that a year ago, last May, but the number has increased exponentially, and they're not even just, you know, without their hijab. They're not even wearing a scarf around their neck in case they are challenged on the street. We met two young women, 16, 17, and they said it's an honor to the many protesters who were killed last January, demonstrating against the government, demanding change, huge crackdown by security forces. They say this is a way for them to keep that protest alive at a time when the authoritarian leadership here is engaged in war with the United States, trying to contain it. At a time when that war has managed to kind of overshadow what happened here in January.
All right, thank you so much. That is Margaret Evans in Tehran tonight. Well, the FBI says it stopped an alleged violent plot targeting the recent UFC event at the White House.
It was an active plot, yes, involving purported claim to be plan to use drones, snipers, etc.
Authorities say 5 people have already been arrested in a multi-state operation. Court documents allege the group was unhappy with the direction of the United States. Around 100,000 people were in attendance, including many government officials. We have some breaking news out of Ottawa tonight. A parliamentary committee is recommending the federal government indefinitely pause the expansion of medical assistance in dying, or MAID, for people whose sole underlying condition is a mental illness. Olivia Stefanovich joins us now. Olivia, what are you hearing from your sources tonight?
Well, Adrian, this recommendation from the Special Joint Parliamentary Committee on MAID is in a report that will be tabled in the House of Commons tomorrow. Now, this is according to 3 sources not authorized to speak about it publicly. The potential expansion of MAID solely for mental illness has been delayed since 2021 and was supposed to take effect next March. But now the committee will recommend it should be paused indefinitely on the grounds that the conditions for safe and equitable implementation cannot presently be met. And one source adds that Canada's legal and healthcare systems are just not ready for this. Currently, you can get MAID if you meet strict conditions, have a serious incurable illness, disease, or disability.
And Olivia, what is the likelihood of the government following this recommendation?
Well, there's a good chance it will. The previous Liberal government pushed back at the expansion after concerns were raised that the healthcare system just wasn't ready. And Justice Minister Sean Fraser says he will take time to review the committee's report before announcing the government's decision. That will likely come within the next few weeks.
All right, thank you. That is Olivia Stefanovich reporting from Ottawa tonight. Major changes to bail and sentencing in this country are now law. The federal government is trying to keep repeat and violent offenders behind bars for longer. That is something many have been asking for, but as Ashley Burke explains, not everyone agrees.
A new law to crack down on crimes that have Canadians worried.
Whether that's auto theft or home invasion, whether it's extortion, whether it is trafficking, or whether it is assault or sexual assault.
The law takes aim at those accused of repeated and violent crimes. It makes it harder for them to get bail and easier to spend more time behind bars for serious crimes.
This legislation sends a message that, hey, victims are important.
Police associations in all provinces and territories called for this. Demands grew after Ontario Provincial Police Officer Greg Pierce-Challa was killed in 2022 while responding to a vehicle in a ditch. He was fatally shot by a man out on bail.
The average person sees that a police officer could be murdered in those circumstances, then how's it safe for them? So I think that's caused that immediate visceral reaction.
The Conservatives didn't block the bill, but say it doesn't go far enough.
None of these small steps have proven to work. We need wholesale bail reform.
It's political pandering to the fears of the public at its worst.
This defense lawyer calls the law unnecessary and says jails are already overcrowded.
Where are they planning on putting these people that are charged with offenses and have not been found guilty and are presumed innocent?
Ontario's premier says he plans to build more jails.
They keep throwing people in jail. That'd be great, keeping these terrible people off the streets and terrorizing neighborhoods. It's getting really bad.
Right now, there aren't any national numbers that show how many people are committing crimes while out on bail. The government is now offering provinces and territories money to be able to provide that data so they can measure if the legislation is working. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The federal government tabled a long-awaited bill to protect drinking water for First Nations. Bill C-37 will establish standards for drinking water and wastewater and recognize First Nations jurisdiction over water on their lands.
This bill puts that leadership at its center. It affirms that First Nations' inherent right to self-determination includes control over decisions on water and related infrastructure on their lands.
The new bill comes with $4.6 billion in funding. There are currently 38 active long-term drinking water advisories. Well, a yearbook from a Halifax high school is being recalled over a hateful message.
It pains to see the rise and the ease that those words are being used.
How it flew under the radar. Next. NHL games will no longer be shown on CBC.
It's a shame when you can't watch your sport on basic cable.
What the change means for fans. Plus, our reporter tracks down a runaway kangaroo.
So I was like, okay, I gotta get my hat, I gotta get my binoculars, I gotta go out there, look like it's like an urban safari.
We're back in 2. Well, that is a wildfire raging in Southern California, spurring evacuations in Riverside County outside of LA. Officials say the fire broke out on Monday. It's now over 1,200 hectares and is about 30% contained, but there are no reports of injuries or of structures damaged. Well, 2 Canadian high schools have had to issue apologies over anti-Semitic messages that were printed in their yearbooks. They were coded phrases and quotes attributed to students. And as Serena Fabian explains, this is raising a lot of questions about how they made it to print.
Just days before graduation at this Halifax high school, a stunning find in the student yearbook, a coded anti-Semitic message attributed to a member of the graduating class.
Disbelief that it flew by the committee and was in the book.
Nellie Spoker's son attends the school, and her grandparents were Holocaust survivors.
It pains to see the rise and the ease that those words are being used, and without kind of thinking of consequences.
The yearbook entry features a sort of shorthand or meme used to deny the scope of the Holocaust. First, it dismisses the figure 6 million, the documented number of Jewish lives lost, then offers a number 20 times smaller.
I've looked up the quote and any alternations of what it could be, and there's nothing. It's the only one meaning.
This Holocaust and genocide scholar says the smaller number first surfaced in the 1950s and was popularized again in the 80s. It's now used online by Holocaust deniers.
I hear ignorance, ignorance of which perhaps the student and maybe even the teachers are not quite aware of the harmful impact of such ignorant statements.
It's not an isolated incident. This Toronto high school is recalling its yearbook over a different coded neo-Nazi message. And there was a similar incident in Pittsburgh. Experts say Holocaust denialism spiked online during the pandemic and again after the October 7th attacks. And that students are likely hoping the messages are so obscure they'll fly under the radar for most.
The sorts of content that they've been reproducing in the yearbooks is coming from internet memes, things that have gone viral that in the last few years have been becoming increasingly common.
In both Halifax and Toronto, yearbooks are being recalled and reprinted. Principals have apologized, but neither school is offering an explanation about how the phrases slipped through undetected. Sabrina Fabian, CBC News, Halifax.
Former Hedley frontman Jacob Hoggard has been granted 6 months of day parole at a halfway house. The Parole Board of Canada said they denied Hoggard full parole because he requires professional supervision. In 2022, a Toronto jury found Hoggard guilty of sexual assault, causing bodily harm against an Ottawa woman. He was found not guilty of sexually assaulting another complainant, and in 2024, he was acquitted on charges in a third case. Well, a top Democrat looks ahead to the U.S. midterm elections and perhaps his own political future.
Governor, we're very honored that you chose a national to announce your 2028 presidential run.
Stop.
My conversation with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. And multiple women are speaking out tonight saying they felt dismissed by police.
It made me feel like I was dirty, like I had done something wrong.
Their calls for trauma-informed investigations. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next. They are so good. This was Wimbledon 2016, but later this month, tennis superstars Serena and Venus Williams will be back after getting a wild card to compete in women's doubles. 44-year-old Serena made her comeback last week, almost 4 years after retiring. Well, midfielder Thomas Partey will not be allowed into Canada for Ghana's opening World Cup match against Panama on Wednesday. A federal court judge has now dismissed his appeal for emergency relief after he was denied entry last week. Partey is awaiting trial in England on multiple counts of rape and sexual assault and has pleaded not guilty. Well, after nearly 75 years, the NHL will no longer be broadcast on the CBC, ending Saturday's hockey night in Canada. It's been a mainstay for generations of Canadians. Caroline Bargout now with what this means for hockey fans and their wallets.
For decades, Canadians have tuned in to Hockey Night in Canada Saturday nights on the CBC. It all began in 1952, the first hockey game ever televised in this country. That run is now over.
It's obviously the end of a significant era of NHL hockey on CBC.
In a joint statement, Rogers Sportsnet and CBC said after a successful 12-year partnership, the public broadcaster will no longer carry NHL broadcasts after the current season as it moves forward with a new sports programming strategy. The decision came down to money.
Both partners legitimately tried to get a deal done, and it just in the end, there was nothing that made sense.
Sportsnet took over the national broadcast rights in 2014, but CBC still aired games on Saturday nights, free to watch on the public broadcaster. Now Canadians will need to subscribe to Sportsnet. Rogers has a deal with the NHL for $11.2 billion.
The host of Hockey Night in Canada, George Strombolopoulos.
Former Hockey Night host George Strombolopoulos says the move turns a part of Canadian culture into another subscription.
I understand it's a business. Everybody understands it's a business, but you can only push it so far before you start to lose people. And I think this is a failure at the NHL level.
This change was predictable, says this hockey analyst.
Sports is big business. You know, live event television drives the marketplace, and that's where a lot of the revenues are.
On the streets of Vancouver, hockey fans are disappointed.
It's a shame when you can't watch your sport on basic cable.
When I was growing up, we had 5 channels, and we lived in the middle of the country, so Hockey Night in Canada, that was our only way to watch hockey.
Saturday night, always you turn on CBC, and you expect it to be there, right? So it is sad.
CBC says it will be launching new sports programming on Saturdays. Next season, if Canadians want to watch NHL hockey on TV, they'll have to pay for it. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Vancouver.
On the breakdown tonight, the U.S. governor up to his eyeballs in Canadian trade and midterm elections, plus an inequity facing women who suffer brain trauma. Why the evidence points to a sex-based difference in accessing specialized care for brain injuries. But first,
it is even and it is balanced.
Pennsylvania's governor wants to talk Canadian trade, but U.S. politics always lurks.
What is your gut about how the Democratic Party will fare?
Josh Shapiro agreed to talk with me about it all with some well-honed caginess.
Governor, we're very honored that you chose a national to announce your 2028 presidential run.
Stop.
Well, that's clear enough. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro does not want to talk about 2028. Everyone else in the U.S. certainly seems to want to.
If this country needs you to run for president of the United States, will you do that?
As Governor Josh Shapiro now in a better position to run for the White House in a couple of years.
Many see you as a contender for 2028. Do you have any plans to run?
The 52-year-old who was almost the Democratic nominee for vice president in 2024 is now in people's sights as a contender for the top job.
Is it too soon to ask that question?
Look, I'm focused only on being governor of Pennsylvania and running for re-election as governor of Pennsylvania.
That campaign and the November midterms will test Democrats who don't control the presidency, the Senate, or the House.
So these midterms, what is your gut about how the Democratic Party will fare?
Look, I can just tell you in Pennsylvania, which is the ultimate swing state, really the toughest place to win an election, we've got competitive races up and down the ballot from governor to state rep to Congress, state Senate, and I'm pouring everything I have into it.
But you also have a drop in Democratic registration in Pennsylvania.
Actually, respectfully, that's wrong. I'll push back on you. We've seen over the last 7 months an increase in Democratic voter registration.
So it dropped after 2024?
It went down for a period of time. I worked hard to put someone that I trust in as leader of the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, and we've seen, I believe it's every month on his watch, growth, growth in Democratic registration.
What's your sense of how the Democratic Party will fare in the country?
Well, look, I think across the board, you're going to have more competitive races this year than perhaps recent years. I think what you'll see is that the balance of power in the House of Representatives may very well come down to Pennsylvania. I know you don't want me to bring it back to my state, but the reality is we've got more competitive congressional races in Pennsylvania than any other state in the country. And even with the attempted rigging of the system, with the gerrymandering and the unfortunate, really the awful decision by the Supreme Court to eviscerate the Voting Rights Act, which has allowed southern states to redraw their maps, eliminate black representation in Congress. Even with all of that, the balance of power really may come down to these 4 races in Pennsylvania, and I'm all in to helping these Democrats win and to having a real check on this president.
What you're talking about there, the gerrymandering, the court decision, how worried are you about, holistically this midterm process, that the effect those changes at the margin may have?
Of course I'm worried about it. Again, the president's trying to seek whatever advantage he can, and they've drawn the maps in a way that give Republicans some advantage. But I think even after all the gerrymandering plays out, it really will come down to just a good old-fashioned election, and many of those elections are going to take place in Pennsylvania, in the ultimate swing state, and that's where we're going to be focusing our attention.
I think about, growing up hearing about the famous checks and balances in the United States, right? The Congress courts. How functional are those institutions now? Because they don't seem to be capable of pushing back too hard against the whims of this president.
I'm from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the birthplace of American democracy. It was at Independence Hall where we declared our independence and then constructed the Constitution of the United States. I think one of the most important conversations that took place in all of that was when Ben Franklin walked out of the old Pennsylvania State House, was greeted by a woman, and she asked him, Mr. Franklin, pardon me, what do we have here, a monarchy or a republic? And Franklin looked her in the eye and said, a republic if you can keep it.
Are you losing your grip on your republic?
We have a group of members of Congress who have simply been a rubber stamp for this president. We have an opportunity to restore those checks and balances in these elections.
And if not, if that doesn't work?
Well, I'm an optimist, and my glass is half full, and I'm going to be focused on making sure we do everything we can to restore that balance of power in the United States.
Which suggests it's off. You want to restore the balance of power, so it's gone, it's off right now.
I want to get back to what the framers had hoped, that you would have a Congress of the United States that was a check on the president, courts that would be a check on the president, and that we would not have someone acting outside the bounds of the law.
We had this conversation in Toronto, by the way, because Governor Shapiro has spent more time in Canada lately.
Great to see you again.
Here, because Pennsylvania also understands the bite of Trump's tariffs.
Our trade with Canada has declined about $500 million.
It counts Canada as its largest international trading partner, and that trading is getting more expensive.
You're here talking in part about tariffs. Do you think Trump's tariffs against Canada should be removed wholesale?
Look, I'm here because Pennsylvania has an extraordinarily important trading relationship with Canada, and it is even and it is balanced. We export about $14 billion to Canada from Pennsylvania each year.
And the same number
and
going back.
It's roughly the same back. It's about $13.5 billion or so. So it's a balanced trading relationship. The president, through his tariffs, have made that far more difficult, especially on Pennsylvania farmers and Pennsylvania manufacturers. I think the manner in which he slapped these tariffs on things have been really reckless and have been very haphazard. I think we need to get back to predictability. We need to get back to stability in that relationship. And I think he's injected a lot of chaos into it. The way he's belittled our neighbors who we do this trade with, and the way in which he's done it to create a lack of predictability, a lack of stability, is undermining the economic promise and the economic progress of Pennsylvania and of Canada, and I think to the detriment of both.
I hear you on the manner in which this has happened. I'm curious about whether you think the substance of the tariffs should go. Or are some tariffs useful for Pennsylvania?
I think it needs to be viewed on a case-by-case basis, and it needs to be done quite surgically. And the president has failed to do that by just saying it's going to be across the board X amount. That's not doing it surgically. I think the United States needs to be surgical in our approach to tariffs. But what the president has done here is just simply driven up and not just with Canada, but across the board, has driven up prices for the American people, has increased the cost of everything.
It wasn't that long ago, President Obama was here in Toronto, and he was talking with a group of people. And he said something that sort of, as somebody in the audience, I found it a little bit interesting, that the little tone of frustration that he feels like he's still the most influential, most noteworthy Democrat out there, and he kind of wishes there were more. And I'm wondering who you have your eyes on.
I think he is trying, rightfully so, to make sure that the torch of leadership is passed not just to one individual, but to many different individuals who have the capacity to move our party and move our country forward. And I appreciate the leadership that he shows every day.
So who do you have your eyes on?
I think we've got a lot of wonderful Democrats leading. I'm obviously interested mostly in governors, no disrespect to others, but I think governors know how to get stuff done, and we've got a lot of amazing governors out there.
Any names?
I work with a lot of great governors and a lot of great leaders across the country, and I think they're doing wonderful work.
Okay, that's interesting. So if I can get back to our first question.
Sure.
Because we're curious about you as your neighbors, and I think a lot of Canadians are trying to figure out who's next with this torch that you talked about. How big are your ambitions?
I understand that naturally Canadians want to look for the next chapter, given how this president has spoken about Canada, the reckless rhetoric about the 51st state, which is totally inappropriate. And I respect Canadian sovereignty. I want that to be very, very clear. I think a lot of Americans do. But I think we can't look past these midterms, and the focus has to be on electing people to Congress, re-electing governors and others who will stand up to this president and who will offer a counter vision to the direction that he's trying to take this country. And that's what I'm focused on.
Okay. Governor, thank you.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you very much. It is worth remembering that the path from state governorship to the U.S. presidency is pretty well trodden. George W. Bush was the last, ending a run of 4 out of 5 such presidents from 1976 to 2008. Well, coming up, new data reveals gaps in access to specialized care for women who suffer traumatic brain injuries.
It's consistent and strong enough that we have to actually pay attention to it.
We'll dig into what a new study shows and what might be done about it next. Multiple women who are alleged victims in an AI deepfake investigation are pushing back against the Ottawa Police Service's claim of leading a trauma-informed investigation. The women say they feel dismissed and are calling on the Ottawa Police to provide more information about the case. Kayla Hounsell has been following the story closely and has the latest.
It made me feel like I was dirty, like I had done something wrong.
She is 34 years old, from Ottawa, and an alleged victim in a deepfake investigation involving her real face in AI-generated scenes of rape and torture. She says she was called to the police station where an investigator laid out 20 to 30 images of her.
I received an email to my work email saying that I had been identified as the victim of a crime.
Her identity is protected by a court-ordered publication ban. CBC News has spoken with 14 women in Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Nunavut who say their faces were taken from social media photos and manipulated. Stephen Lowe is facing 79 charges, including harassment, uttering threats, and child sexual abuse and exploitation material. The allegations have not been proven in court. Some of the women say they're angry and frustrated after seeing the Ottawa Police Service issued this press release saying investigators quickly launched a thorough, trauma-informed, and victim-centered investigation.
I'd really like to know who informed them, if they think they're trauma-informed.
This 49-year-old woman says the officer who informed her of the content was too casual.
It was dismissive of the gravity and the level of violation.
The Ottawa Police Service says it takes these kinds of concerns seriously. It also has a victim support unit that works closely with frontline officers to provide crisis intervention, safety planning, emotional support, and referrals to community resources.
The victim is at the centerpiece of every investigative decision. We keep her or them informed of the next step. We put in a great deal of effort into our preparation before approaching a particular victim.
What would trauma-informed mean to you in this case?
I wish someone had told me it wasn't my fault. I wish a woman had been in the room with me.
She says she's also been trying to figure out how to monitor court proceedings, something to which she feels she has a right after her life has been forever changed. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Ottawa.
Women who suffer brain injuries do not, on average, get precisely the same specialized care as men who do. That is the conclusion of a recent study. Shauna Reid now on what it shows.
When Francine Gillis slipped on black ice and hit her head, she was diagnosed with a concussion and whiplash, then sent home.
In the 5 days after that, I was nauseated. I couldn't put my head up. Lights were killing me, sound was killing me, and I just couldn't understand what was going on.
Gillis was eventually admitted to hospital for 10 days, and it took 4 months to see a specialist.
I lost my identity. I felt worthless, that I couldn't do anything.
New Canadian research suggests women face inequities in accessing specialized care for brain injuries. Ontario health data from more than 55,000 adult patients found women were 26% less likely to be sent to a trauma center compared to men.
It is consistent and strong enough that we have to actually pay attention to it.
The paper does not investigate what is driving these differences. The study also found female patients were older and more likely to have underlying health issues, including hypertension and dementia, while male patients had more severe trauma. But even after researchers accounted for those factors, females were still less likely to be admitted to a specialized trauma center.
Often their symptoms can be underappreciated.
This trauma surgeon says especially for older women, a fall or a slip can lead to severe injuries.
If the diagnosis is not made early and intervention is not provided, then the outcomes can be much worse.
It's an invisible illness, an injury.
A decade later, and Francine Gillis is still living with the impacts of her concussion. She hopes to see more research focused on brain injuries in women and better access to the care they need. Shauna Reid, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, good old Sarah Levitt chases a loose kangaroo in Boucherville, Quebec.
What's that? And I'm like, oh my God, it's the kangaroo.
Of course it is. The behind the scenes of her story next in our moment. You are looking at a kangaroo who was on the loose for days in Boucherville, Quebec. It has since been transported to a nearby zoo where it will be evaluated. But today, with that kangaroo still on the loose, many got worried for its safety. So one intrepid reporter, our very own Sarah Levitt, got to work to get the story and the roo. Tonight, her encounter makes our moment.
That indeed is a kangaroo, like the ones you see in Australia. The assignment in the morning was, hey, lost kangaroo. And I was like, hey, I'm an unofficial animal correspondent. So I was like, okay, I got to get my hat. I got to get my binoculars. I got to go out there, look like it's like an urban safari. We roll up and our colleagues from Radio Canada had been here all day and they said, no sighting, haven't seen anything. We're going to leave. They leave. 2 minutes later, I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God, it's the kangaroo. The first thing I do when I'm looking at a story is see who's possibly seen this. And I saw these beautiful photographs on Facebook. I reached out to her and she immediately answered me. And it's kind of actually due to her that we're seeing the kangaroo today, because she told us, come meet me at this location. The animal rescue group has named it. Now, it's not very original. It's Joey.
You know, if I had come in today and someone had said, hey, AA, pick a reporter of all the reporters you know who is likely to show up for a story with binoculars and find a lost kangaroo, I 100% would have picked Sarah Levitt, and I knew she was going to wear that red Tilly hat. Good on you. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.